Maile, you are up next, and my apologies if I mispronounce your name. Please correct me. And also looking at wider within the region, looking at SDG 14, and also bring us back to socio-ecological issues. So we look forward to your presentation. And so far, it seems to be working fantastically. All clear. Anyone struggling to see the presentation?
What do you see?
I see your full screen, so it's
okay,
not.
So you don't see my notes
or anything.
No,
your notes, no notes, no anything else. Yeah. No, I know the benefits of online presentations with all the other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry.
All right.
A couple of times. Okay, so
I'm going to start the time,
yeah,
and I will give you a 2-minute notice when you reach your 8-minute mark. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So. Good afternoon, good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be part of this conference. Today I'll be sharing with you some preliminary results and my thoughts on my postdoctoral research on SDG 14, which I started this year in February at the University of Portsmouth, so it's still quite new. I wanted to start with a little bit of context on governance, which I'll go very fast because we're all aware of it. As we know, the region is very rich in biodiversity. As we say in tuna fisheries, it's called the last frontier for resource exploitation. And the region also has a vast coastal population. In terms of governance, and especially linked to SDG 14, there are strong structures in place like the Nairobi Convention. You can see here the commitment of the Nairobi Convention on the UN website. And there has also been a lot of reports on governance, and especially linked to SDG 14. So you can see here some targets in the blue economy. A report of WWF in 2017 that refers to SDGs in different places. So I would like to discuss a little bit about the research I've been doing. So the first part of my research has been looking at the assessment of SDG 14, especially the by 2020 goals in the Western Indian Ocean, and it went a bit more global in the end. I wanted to do the research this way because there is a lot of everybody talk about SDGs, but nobody has really looked at them in detail, like where we're at the moment. So this is what this research contributes to. So it's a very, to assess these 4 SDGs, I looked at the different database. For example, for SDG 14.5, I looked at the WDPA database. For sustainable stock, I looked at the Sea Around Us project database. For SDG 14.6, I looked at the IUU Index database. And for SDG 14.2, I looked at the MSP global database of the UNESCO OIC program. So I would present to you now a little bit of the result of those. No, not yet. A second part of the research is also try to analyze the socio-ecological drivers and specificities that made some countries achieve SDG 14, especially those 4, better than others. So for those, I chose Madagascar, Kenya, and Seychelles as case studies. And I did those 3 countries because they represent a bit of the 3 stages of achievement, with Madagascar very low in achievement, Kenya, which is like on the very height of achieving, and Seychelles that is assessed as usually as doing pretty well. And the part of the research that has not been done yet is to try to look at those drivers that I will do through an online survey and interviews with stakeholders. So to share a bit the result with you of what I found on those 4 SDGs and the 4 countries, the 3 countries that I've been working on, is that here it is. So I explain a bit, just for the purpose of illustration, to be a bit more detailed in the paper. I put here 5, scale of 5 for achieved SDGs and a scale of 1 for not achieved SDGs. So as you can see here, the further it goes, the more achieved it is. So here we can see that Seychelles has been doing a lot more better than the two others, and Kenya and Madagascar are doing similarly the same at the moment. So, and then if we look at the goals in particular, so I've clustered them into two types of goals. So there is marine protection related goals, and that's 14.2 on area-based management and 14.5 on marine protected area. We can see here that Madagascar and Kenya still have very low achievement on SDG 14.2, or not achieved the goal at all for SDG 14.5. Seychelles has made some average progress in area-based management and good progress in terms of MPA coverage. We've probably all followed the debt swap and the MSP process that is happening in Seychelles that probably really help to achieve this particular goal. And then if we look at fisheries related target, okay, there's a bit of mistake here. It's SDG 14.4 and the SDG 14.6. We can see that the three countries have made average progress in issuing a good proportion of fish stock being biologically healthy under SDG 14.4. And also there has been actually some really good progress in terms of response to IUU fishing, which was a big a surprise considering what's happening globally and in the region as well. So for this particular indicator, we look at IUU responses of countries, and all the three countries assessed were doing quite well in terms of responses. So those were the result of the assessment I did. And now I would like to share with you some thoughts about the second part of the research, which has not been done yet, but will be done soon. So now I'd like to move towards the what could be the main drivers of success or failure of achievement. And those are some hypotheses based on a socio-ecological system approach. So I'll be looking at the biophysical dimension, social dimension, external driver, and also some ecosystem services in the region. So as you can see here, for example, that from the literature, I found that there are some policy promoting SDG 14 that are around, advanced MSP and blue economy. Policy and processes are also some driver of success. And in terms of external drivers, there is, as we've all followed, there is a global push at the moment for SDG 14 and ocean protection, discussion about the subsidies at the WTO, and also a lot of press about overfishing, which helped push the action, I would say. I've also seen in the literature that there is a lot of good ecosystem services that are doing pretty well in the region. In terms of why it has been a slow progress, my hypothesis here is that there are also some degrading ecological system or even social dimensions, but also there are really strong external drivers like globalization or trade demanding ocean products, or aspect of geopolitics, of resource exploitation, and climate change that is, as we've seen in the previous presentation, which was really interesting, that highly affect what's going on in the region. And we also see that because of probably the low rate of protection, there are some ecosystem services that are starting to degrade. So how do we move forward from here? My suggestion, my thoughts on this is that we need to look back. Someone else has said that as well. We need to learn from our successes. For 14.6, for example, what has helped countries to advance the fight against IUU? We need to focus on failure. How can we improve protection and of our oceans and coasts within the current means available in the region. Our case is not uncommon compared to other regions. The global assessment that we've undertaken showed that most countries have not achieved that goal at all and will not achieve it. So how do we continue efforts to protect fish stocks, for example, by improving capacity for national stock assessments, and how do we accelerate progress involving area-based management, such as MSP, IZCMs, and establish monitoring of those achievements. And maybe one last thing that has also been mentioned by someone else is we probably need to reinvent the way we monitor achievement of SDG 14, because otherwise we will not make it according to what the WIO can do and what the WIO is able to deliver. So there is some example of the narrative approach of David Obura. That was my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And here are my contacts. Please keep in touch and looking forward to hear from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me clapping. Ladies, you've done fantastic in this session, and what a wonderful way to end it off. Can I see if there's any questions specifically on this wonderful piece of research? Brian's got a comment there in the box. He talks about, thank you for your presentation. One of your hypotheses for socioeconomic drivers is advancing the blue economy processes. And he'd like to ask, how do you define or identify these? Very interested to see what you find on this.
Yeah, so for the literature at the moment, the countries have different stages of where they are in the blue economy. For example, like Madagascar is literally at the stage of hiring consultants to do their blue economy strategy. Seychelles is very advanced to the stage that they already have an action plan to implement the blue economy. And Kenya is also quite advanced. So in those processes, the more, what I meant by advanced there is that there are policies that are in place, and the region is quite strong on that everybody's on blue economy at the moment. And it's the way where it's implemented and integrated with other things that makes it, to me, advanced. I hope that responds to the question.
I hope that helps, Brian. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, we've got a thank you from Brian. Thanks for your questions. Any other questions or comments from Maile? Wonderful presentation.
Thanks.
Tell me, Maile, from my side, what were some of the most interesting findings? What was there anything that surprised you from the data that you had collected?
I think there were two. Well, the one surprise and non-surprise was SDG 14.5, which was about the coverage of marine protected area, because it's an SDG that started in 2015, but it's also an SDG that is linked to IG Target 11. So in the global analysis, literally less than 20% of countries achieved it, which to me was for a target that has been so old now. There must be something wrong with it if there is still very little achievement from the CBD and then the SDGs. And something that was also interesting was the IUU response, which I thought was quite good. That most countries had good IUU responses, policies in place, and good targeted actions against IUU. So that was a good thing. And finally, also a third one was area-based management. The database was really limited. So if we just look at the database, the official database that is there, which is not much, and that's also linked to the indicator, not many countries are involved in MSP or over area-based management. But in practice, we knew among me and some of my other cohort that things are happening in different countries, but they are not recorded at the international level, which makes then the assessment really low. So I think there is also an issue there. That was quite interesting, that we keep putting those targets that are just way too difficult to even monitor and record, and makes our work all difficult at the practical level.
Yeah, with so many people involved in different levels and research, I think it is hard to bring it all together. And I think all the more reason for us to really improve our networking